Hi, I am Faisal and let's talk about calculating aspect and slope as per new formulation in ArcGIS. So, as per old formula, you calculate aspect and slope for which I have recorded videos, but as per new formula, we have weights. In old formulation, we have 3x3 window, and it says that if you have a cell which has no data value, null value, so that null value will be replaced with the value of the center cell. Let's say the center cell value is z0, so no data will be replaced with z0. Similarly, if you have no data in second cell, this will be also replaced with z0. So the second thing about new formulation is that if you have no data, so there are weights which are used like 2 1 0 1 to 1 weight. So let's say you have cell like 1 2 3 0 4 5 6 7 8, the weights for, and you are calculating slope in the x direction. So in order to calculate the weight, you will be using following weights 1 to 1. Now let's say the value in this cell is no data, then this weight will become 0. If you have no data in 3, this cell will become 0. If you have no data, for example, this will be also 1 to 1. If you have no data here, so this, instead of 2, it will become 0. So in calculation of weights, the weights will become 0 if you have no data. I'll explain that further from the diagram. And the third condition is that maximum allowed no data is near the neighboring cell. Maximum allowed no data is 1. Okay, why? Because you need to have at least 7 neighboring cell which should have valid cell value. Valid cell value means that it should not have no data. It should not have there should be no null values in those cells. No null values in those cells. In case if it has no if it has less than 7 neighboring cell with valid values, and you have more null values, then in this case the output will be also no data. So the third condition is that your output will be no data. you cannot compute the output. The output will be no data if neighboring cell have less than 7 valid values. Means that you have total you have 8 neighboring cell. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. You have 8 neighboring cell, and maximum valid value cell minimum valid value cell is 7. Valid cells mean that they should not have no data. If they have no data, so the answer will be no data. This also implies that the edge cell after the analysis, the edge cell in the raster file will have no data. Okay. Let's open the ArcGIS website. So we have the first link about how slope works. Let's open this link. Now here you can see the formulation of the slope. Also, one of the changes in new ArcGIS is that you have further category of calculation method, planar and geodesic. In planar you have Cartesian coordinate, in geodesic you have latitude, longitude and altitude. And here are the rules. The first thing I told you is that you have weights. So let's check the weights. Here you have the weights. In calculating the slope of x, you have a weight weight 1 and weight 2, whereas the weight formula are as following. Let's say you have this c plus 2f plus I. So c f I, for that the weight will be 1 plus 2 times of 1 plus 1. So the weight are proportional to the factors here. Okay, 1 to 1, so the weight will be 1 to 1. Now if I is 0, so here the factor will become 0. So I is 0, the factor of that will become 0. If the f is 0, so that 2 times it will become 2 times 0, just like shown here. Okay, so where A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I are these cells. So weight 1 is basically 1 plus 2 times of 1 plus 1. Now here you have CFI. So if the value in F, for example, if the value in F is no data, So this f is 2 times of f, so here this thing will become 0. If you have no data in I, so this thing become 0. Okay, and you have this as your weight, 4 divided by weight 1 and 4 divided by weight 2. Now for weight 2 you will consider A, D and G. So it will be also, the weight will here will be also 1 plus 2 times of 1 plus 1. So if A is no data, so this value will become 0. If D is no data, this value will become 2 times of 0. If G is no data, this value become 0. Okay, so this is about weights. Second thing to note down here is rest of that is same. Second thing to note down here is following discussion, that if your center cell is no data, the result of slope will be no data. One thing. Second thing is that you need at least 7 cell in neighbors to have valid values. By valid values mean that you need to have at least 7 cells which have no null values or no data values. They should have some valid values, 7 cells. So if you see that you have a total in 8 neighboring cell, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So maximum allowed no data cell is only and only 1. Okay, so further it says that if there are fewer than 7 valid cells, means that you have more no data cell, so the result will be what? The result will be no data. Okay, so this is a point to be noted. What is the effect of that? The effect of that is that outermost rows and columns will be of no data, because the boundary have not valid neighbors. Okay, so in new formulation you have weights. These weights are used in calculation of slopes. There will be no output if the center cell is no data. Okay, and maximum allowed no data in neighboring cell is just 1. Okay, this means that the H cell will have no data, and the weights are 1 to 1, and if their corresponding cell have no data, these weight will become 0. Okay, so this is the change to keep in mind. Rest of the calculation is just same as we have solved our example before. So the new aspect and new slope will have changed because of the weights, because of the rule for no data. Okay, so I hope you learned something new from this, and this would help you in understanding the new formulation.